This is the Red Podcast.
This is episode number 99. How can you make the new year your best year ever? That's what we're talking about on this episode.
This is the Red Podcast. Real entrepreneur development. Make more money, work less, and live a life of freedom. No BS advice that really works. Here's your hosts, David Hooper and Laurel Staples.
It's almost the new year, Laurel.
Woohoo.
You excited?
We've been excited about 2015 for like 2 months now. It's ridiculous.
I love the new year. New Year's Day is my favorite holiday. New Year's Eve, actually, because I think it's a great time to reflect on what you've done. But it's also a time of hope, a time of self-improvement, at least in your mind.
True. I ask other people, what are your plans for 2015? Because I've been thinking about it for a couple months, and the people I've asked are like, I'm just trying to get through this week. I'm like, oh, wow. We've made lists. We've written out what we want to do.
Yeah.
We've like scheduled things.
Went out of town for a few days, unplugged everything, and really planned it out.
Yep.
That's how seriously we take it. This is the Red Podcast. Red stands for Real Entrepreneur Development. We help you build an audience, sell more product, and make more money. We are business optimizers. You've got a business, we can fine-tune it, tune it up, give you more time, more freedom, more money, show you how to live the life on your terms. Here's the problem. You're not going to keep all those goals that you're setting. Not you, Laurel.
Yeah,
You'll
I
keep all of
am.
them.
Yeah.
We're different,
I'm perfect. Right? Yeah, I set my goals and I keep 100% of them all the time.
All the time. Let's talk about the common goals people have in the United States. The first one, do you know what it is?
Judging by the increased traffic in the gym in January, I would say the top one would probably be lose weight.
You are correct.
All right.
66% of Americans overweight or obese. They're not making it easy on us with all the fast food and processed food and everything else that they're shoving in our face. They don't really shove it in our face, I guess. We're doing that. But they certainly make it easy to buy, which I suppose is a marketing lesson in itself. That's number one, lose weight. And that's one of those that, when does the gym actually start getting back to pre-January?
I think February.
So about a
February,
month.
yeah.
About a month.
I never liked January because everybody is in there.
Yeah.
And I'm just trying to do my thing, and it's overcrowded.
Number two, quit smoking. That's why everybody's agitated in January. They're trying to quit smoking. Quit drinking. I've seen a lot of people recently tell me that they are taking 30 days off. January is like their dry month. We'll get into 30-day trials a little bit later on this episode, but I think it's pretty interesting. If you can do something for 30 days, why not keep it up? How about financial goals?
Oh, that's a big one.
Huge. Save money, earn more money, get out of debt. We'll talk about ways to earn more money. Earning more money, that's pretty much what we talk about here on this podcast.
Well, and a lot of people are looking to quit their job in 2015.
Absolutely.
So that probably not on the list of common goals that you might read, but it's something that's on people's minds.
Well, and that would fall into this next one, reduce stress. So if you're looking to make more money, enabling you to save more money and reduce stress, keep listening to Red Podcast. Those are big. Get more sleep is really big.
Oh, yeah.
Fortunately, living with you, I've got that in check.
You do. I'm big on sleep. If I don't get my 8 hours of sleep, I am not happy.
I was up today at 5:45. I was working out before 7, and I went out to breakfast with one of the guys that I worked out with. And I told him, I said, man, I don't think I would have done this 3 years ago. I was staying up till 3:30 a.m., and I gave you credit, Laurel. But the irony is, I wake up earlier than you almost every day now.
You do. I am not up early in the winter.
That would not have happened 3 years ago. I'd still be asleep right now.
You also get to sleep before I do. It takes me about an hour to get to sleep, and it takes you 5 minutes.
That's because I've got reduced stress.
Apparently.
All that yoga. The other big one, speaking of our relationship, spend more time with family and friends. Big one.
That is a big one. Why do you think that people get on track for January and then fall off with their New Year's goals?
I think it's lack of planning. I think it's kind of the my eyes are bigger than my stomach situation where something seems good, but they haven't really thought it out. That's a bad analogy when so many people have weight loss goals. I'm not using it in that context, but that's what we do as people, especially entrepreneurs. We're so excited with possibility. We see the potential in everything. And I think we see the potential within ourselves and goals. That's what happens. We have a lot of goals. There's no way we can possibly do all of them, not without working harder than we want to. So we just drop it.
It can be overwhelming if you want to do multiple things, achieve multiple goals. Say you want to quit smoking and lose weight and reduce stress. A lot of those things go hand in hand, but if you pick a lot of goals, that's one reason you might fall off the wagon, especially after January or February, if not just after the first week in January, because you've overwhelmed yourself and you haven't been able to put habits in place to support these goals. So that's one reason people fall off, is they bite off more than they can chew.
I have a friend of mine over the last year. She has really gotten hot and heavy into Alcoholics Anonymous, AA. Quit drinking, quit drugs. She's in there. And one of the things they tell you in AA, it's been interesting having these discussions with her. They don't tell you to quit smoking. They don't tell you to change your bad relationship. They don't tell you to quit your job. They don't want any changes. Drinking is it. That's it. The first year of sobriety, all you do is focus on that. Don't try to get in shape. Don't do anything. Just don't drink. That's it. We talked about the one thing and how it relates to marketing. Just give people one choice, yes or no, more or less. I think that works. It certainly has worked for her. Imagine trying to quit smoking, quit drinking. We could probably take a lesson from AA when it comes to acquiring goals. You've got several years to live if you take care of yourself. One big goal a year, maybe that's how to do it.
I had a friend once that was going to a therapist. She started going because she was having a hard time, and her therapist told her, well, let's see, you've changed cities, you've moved in with your boyfriend, you've gotten a new job. Like everything in her life was new. And of course, she's completely stressed out because of all of these changes, and none of them have really settled. And so she's like, oh, that kind of makes sense. So if you look at your New Year's goals, do you have too many? Do you not have any? I mean, you have to be kind of somewhere in the middle there.
Let's take it back to 30-day trials. Talked about that a minute ago with my friends that do drink, that are not going to drink in January. That's the goal. February 1st, they're good, but until then, no booze. I like the concept of a 30-day trial because I think it gives you an end period and it allows you to do something hopefully every day for 30 days to see if it works for you or not. Some people probably shouldn't quit drinking. Some people don't need to go to the gym. Some people don't need to do these so-called goals that we're talking about, that we're trying to set. It just doesn't work for them. And if it doesn't, why force that?
Your goal has to be in alignment with what you want to achieve. And if you're just picking a goal because you think you should do that, you're never going to follow through on it. You're never going to follow through on it if it's just not something that aligns with where you are and where you want to be going and what you want to be achieving. And it's something that you really, really want, because goals are hard to achieve. And if you're not willing to put in the time and the effort, and it's really important to you, if you don't have your why, as we talk about, move on. That goal is not going to happen.
I see so much, especially from your so-called leadership experts who seem to have it all together, and they tell you, no, you've got to spend more time with your family. Nobody dies and on their deathbed wishes they spent more time in the office. But I don't know that that's true. Maybe you hate your family and you really love work. Maybe you should work more. It's got to be in alignment with you. I think that's important.
David, what are some of your goals for 2015?
Well, I got 3 big ones because I'm going to be a little bit more ambitious than just the one. I'm going to do a new book. It's time for me to get back to writing on a regular basis again. the revamped Red Podcast. We haven't even talked about that. Episode 100, though, we're going to talk about the revamping of Red Podcast. Got some very, very exciting things in store, and that's going to be a full year project. And also, I've got to tie some loose ends that I've just bundled up. Those are the projects that I've got on the table that haven't been completed yet, but I need to. And just having them sit there, even if I'm not actively working on them, it's taking up my energy. I have to think about them. It's kind of like the processing power on your computer when it's not the active program, but just a program you have open. That's what those old projects are doing for me. So those are my 3 big goals. A new book, the revamped Red Podcast, and tying up loose ends.
I know we're talking about how to keep your goals, but I want to just get a quick snapshot of how you came up with those goals, because apparently the people that I've been talking to have not set their 2015 goals, have barely thought about it. So what advice would you give to somebody who isn't quite sure what their goals should be?
I'm not writing a book just because I want to write a book. Writing is actually a very long and sometimes painful process for me. But I do have a message, and I want to spread that message. Sometimes that's done through Red Podcast. I think a book is going to help me reach people that the podcast may not get to, though. And those are the first 2 goals on my list. Really, they involve spreading the message. The other goal, the third goal, tying up the loose ends, that is going to enable me to do the first 2 that much better. So my big why is because I want to spread the message of entrepreneurship. I want to spread the message that freedom is possible. I want to spread the message, especially for creative entrepreneurs, the square pegs in the round hole. You're not fitting in to the corporate environment. You're not fitting in to what you're currently doing. If that's you, I want to show you that there are other ways to make money. I feel real fortunate having been in the music business, growing up in Nashville, Tennessee, surrounded by all this creative people, this creative energy. And you get to see people that make money with their ideas, that make money with their creativity. I think that can go beyond music into general entrepreneurship. And that's the message that I want to help spread.
So what advice would you give to people who are trying to come up with their own goals?
I think you have to get clear on the why. I think you need to know why you want to do something. The reason I was up this morning working out, I want to feel better, look better, be able to do more things, live a pain-free life. Again, to take it back to writing, it's not because I like writing. It's because when I write books, when I sell books, it enables me to spread a message and do things that I love to do. I think you have to get clear on why before you do anything. That's what's going to allow you to do what it is that you want to do. So if you want to get clear on goals, I think you need to look at what you want to do in your life, and then you need to ask yourself, who do I need to be? What skills do I need to learn? Those 2 things. And then everything kind of works itself out.
I always like to use the analogy, if you're starting maybe in Chicago and driving somewhere, it's like pick your destination of what you want to be. And then say you want to go to New York, and then you plot out what are the turns and path that you have to take to get there. And those can be your goals, is what's it going to take to get there. So you have to think of who you want to be and what you want to achieve, and then the goals map your way to that.
Yeah, definitely. And I'll add a third one. Who do you need to know? I think about being in the music licensing business for a long time, where I had a catalog of music that I owned and I wanted it to be used. So that would be the first step. I had good music and I wanted it to be used. I knew what I wanted to do with it. Then I had to know some certain people. So I would watch movies, find out who did the music supervision, who put the music within the movies, and you could contact them directly. So it's the same process. Basically, you're starting at the end with the people, the knowledge, the skills that you need to make something happen, and then you work backwards. You connect the dots, just like that map. How about your goals, Laurel? Big plans?
I don't have 3 goals listed out like you do, and I'm not going to discuss them specifically, but I do want to discuss something that you and I are doing in 2015, David, that I'm pretty excited about because it involves an Excel spreadsheet, which you know I love Excel and spreadsheets. So,
what are we doing? I don't know about this.
You know about this because because we sat down and we did it. I just haven't put it in spreadsheet format. We looked at our goals. Yours is write a book and what you talked about. So we listed out our goals, what we want to achieve in 2015, and then we really broke it down into recurring habits that we have to do. For instance, you wrote down that you want to write every day. We both work out every day. We took our goals, we broke them down into daily, weekly, monthly habits that we want to achieve. So I'm putting this into an Excel spreadsheet, and we're going to put it on the fridge. It's going to allow us to tally up. For instance, if you want to write every day, that every day you write, you can put a tally on this sheet. And you'll be able to see as you go along how many weeks that you're able to keep this up, and it'll really hold you accountable. That's pretty exciting for me. And some of the stuff isn't business stuff. Some of it's like walk the dog and things like that. But keeping these daily habits up, because habits are what stack on top of each other to create success. You don't just arrive at success. Success is something that you do every single day or every single week that adds up, kind of like the compound effect. And so basically we're doing the compound effect on our fridge this year, and I'm pretty excited about that.
I've got a program on my iPhone called Streaks. You may have seen this concept mentioned because of Seinfeld taking a calendar and putting the X in the box of the calendar, making a chain. Don't break the chain. And we're talking about streaking here, not the running naked through the frat house.
Speak for yourself.
But
I don't know the Seinfeld
continuing the
streaking
chain
thing.
Yeah.
You never even watched Seinfeld.
I've never watched Seinfeld, but
And
I
I've seen them
do
all.
know,
And
well,
I don't know that one.
okay, it's not a Seinfeld episode. This was actually Seinfeld. How did he get so good? Write every day. And you take a calendar. You know the calendar has the blocks on it.
Mm-hmm.
Put an X through it, and it looks like a chain where you put X, 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 and you don't break the chain. There's a great program. Again, Streaks. Look it up in the App Store. We'll have it linked from the show notes, redpodcast.com/99 if you want more information about that. But you're going old school with this. We've got this spreadsheet. We've got not only a monthly calendar, we've got the yearly calendar, so we can see what we're doing on a weekly, monthly, and yearly basis.
It's going to say maybe write for David, and then it's going to say 5 days a week or however many days you want to write. And then you'll tally up every day that you write, you'll put a tally on there. And by the end of the week, if you did it, if you succeeded on your streak there, we'll highlight that block for that week and so forth and so on for the week. So for instance, say you wanted to lose weight this year. You can't just put that in an Excel spreadsheet. Like, did I lose a pound? Like, that's not what's going to help you reach your goal. You might break it down into, okay, I need to cook 4 days a week. Or maybe I need to cook 1 day a week on Sunday and cook a lot and pack it all. I need to eat at my desk maybe 5 days a week. Things like that you'd break it down into these smaller habits, and then you'd watch as you're able to streak these habits. So that for me is a really effective way to see your progress, because I think a lot of times we move so slowly, we can't see where we're going, but this makes you feel like you've achieved something. You've set really tiny goals that will add up to your big goal, and it helps keep you on track and accountable.
It's a great way to do it. Let's take it back to AA and some of the things that they're doing right when it comes to goals. They say 1 day at a time, and if you set what your goal is and then work backwards, doing the little things that you need to do to reach your goal daily, 1 day at a time, that's all you've got to focus on, just doing them 1 day at a time, 1 foot in front of the other. You'll reach your goal. It might not happen in a month. It may not happen in 2 months, but it will happen eventually. The other thing I really love about AA, they give you those chips.
Mm-hmm.
And that's basically like streaking, right? You get 3 month, 6 month, 1 year chips. That's your streak. If you mess up, you got to start all over again. And you get to a point where you don't want to mess up.
Mm-hmm.
You want to keep that thing going. And I think that's why this is so powerful when it comes to goal setting.
Because just like AA, there's no destination. Like with weight loss, there really should be no destination because it's a lifelong thing. Quitting smoking, lifelong thing. Business success, lifelong thing. Having little successes along the way, something equivalent of getting chips in AA, can be really effective because there's no end point. It's just a continuous process and a habit that you set up for yourself.
And this would not apply to AA. Something that I think is worth mentioning when it comes to goals, though, and works for most things, is having a cheat day. You know, Tim Ferriss, the 4-hour work week, 4-hour chef, he's really big on getting on like a 6 out of 7 day a week diet. And I think there's an element of that. He didn't just invent that. Weight Watchers even has that. You've got cheat days, days when you let loose just a little bit more. And I think that that's fine. I think a lot of people have an all or nothing attitude. I certainly do. I like to have habits that I do daily. I don't like to skip days. I'm writing daily, 7 days a week, Monday through Sunday. For a lot of people, though, I think it can help you to have more good than bad, if we're going to look at it like that. More success than not success, getting more done than not done, by allowing themselves one day off, because there are breaks within, and you can concentrate on 6 days, let's say, if you're looking at just a week, rather than forever. Forever is a very long time.
Well, we're not robots here, so it helps to have something that kind of breaks it up. When I was a health coach, that was something I would talk to people about, is the 90-10 diet. It's like you stay on the path, you eat right, you exercise 90% of the time, then 10% of the time you eat what you want. No, it's not going to kill you. I think that's a good thing to keep in mind, is you don't have to be perfect. You're not a robot, but as long as you keep progressing and driving in that direction of your goal, then you're going to be all set.
I think just getting back on track is good when you do fall off, and having forgiveness. There was a great book called Body for Life. Have you read that book? Your health coaching at all? He said that breakfast is the most important meal of the day because it gets you started. And all too often, people will not have a good breakfast. Eat maybe some donuts or whatever a bad breakfast is. And they'll say, oh, today's thrown off. Today's thrown off. Therefore, I don't have to eat well the rest of the day. But if you can get it started with that one good thing, that one keystone, the rest of the day will take care of itself. So I think that's something to keep in mind. If you do fall off the wagon, don't write off everything. Don't just say, hey, I skipped for a week at the gym, therefore I'm not going to go back at all. I skipped for a week at writing, I'm not going to ever pick up that manuscript again. I think getting back on as soon as you can is the best thing that you can do. Reminds me of that old Chinese saying, the best time to plant a tree, 20 years ago. Second best time, today.
It is. I also feel like you have to have some awareness of why you fell off the wagon. For me, when things get out of whack, I look at a couple things. I look at, am I getting enough sleep? Yes or no? Am I eating right? Am I exercising? Have I been outdoors? I look at all of those factors, and usually something is out of balance there. It's not always that the new habit that I'm having a problem with it, it's that something else is out of whack. So if you can get in balance with those things that keep you going and keep you motivated, then you'll better be able to achieve these goals and keep up these daily, weekly, or monthly habits that you're trying to instill in your life.
I think it's a good reason to start small because you start to see yourself as somebody who can accomplish things. And then, like we've talked about on other podcast episodes, about working your way up the ladder with sales, starting a customer with a free item, working them to a $5, $10, $20 item, working them up into the hundreds and thousands of dollar items. If you start with those small goals and you start to view yourself as somebody who can actually accomplish things, even if it's small, you can move on to medium-sized and bigger goals.
Something that's been really effective for me is to do habit stacking. Are you familiar with this, David?
I am.
Habit stacking is when you add on one habit to another habit that you have. For instance, a couple years back when I was trying to floss my teeth regularly after my dentist had told me year after year after year that I needed to do it every day, when did I do it? I didn't do it in the middle of the day. I didn't do it at some random time each different day. What I did was I brushed my teeth, one habit, and then I stacked on another habit, which was flossing. And that's a great way to do it. I have a client right now who was trying to find a time to do something for his business. He had to do something where he was driving around. And his problem was he wasn't doing it. He wasn't leaving the house. He wasn't making this effort to drive around and get the information he was supposed to get. And so I said, okay, when is the time that you are already out of the house in your car? And he said, well, every Sunday I have a meeting at 8 a.m. And I said, okay, don't go home after that. Make it a habit that you're already out, you meet with this person, and then you drive around and get the information you need, and then you go home. And that has worked well for him so far because it's stacking a habit. It's not doing something at a random time. It's not starting at an odd time. It's not remembering to do it every day. It's just putting one habit on the back of another habit.
You're changing lives, Little Staples.
Changing lives.
One habit stack at a time.
Yep, it works.
If you've got questions or comments, we'd love to hear from you. redpodcast.com is the way to get in touch. And we'd really love to hear what your goals are for 2015. If we can help you with that, let us know. Go to redpodcast.com. Also, are you listening on iTunes? We'd appreciate a review. Search for Real Entrepreneur Development. Leave us a review there. That helps us to come up more frequently in the iTunes search engines. And when that happens, we reach more people. We build a bigger Real Entrepreneur Development community. Thanks so much for listening. Hope you have a great upcoming year. And if we can do anything, reach out. We'll see you on the next episode.
You've been listening to Red Podcast, Real Entrepreneur Development. Subscribe today using iTunes, Stitcher, or via RSS at redpodcast.com.
With number 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 reasons